I never finished the part about what I Googled. And I just typed in a list of everything that was done wrongly to Jesus during his ministry. And and it comes up thousands, if not millions, of response and stuff like that. But every one went to when Jesus was in the courtyard, and then whenever he was being crucified and everything like that. And I often wondered, there's been so much more about Jesus' life that we don't know about. And to be honest with you, we probably won't know until you get to heaven. But there's still a lot we can learn. Whenever I was talking about the ministry, it amazes me that one day you're doing a wedding. One day you're celebrating a new life coming. And then the very next day you're doing a funeral. And then it's just I won't say a vicious cycle, but it is a cycle that we go through as ministers and as Christians and everything like that. So when you look at our lives, and especially whenever the members of the world looks at our life, because we're elite people, let us do something wrong and they're happy to point it out. Let us do something right and it just happened to be luck. But nevertheless, we are constantly on a roller coaster, for a lack of a better term. But I need you to understand that because you're burying someone today and you're celebrating a new life, it never fails. You're never prepared. And I'm reminded, was Jesus really prepared to face what he faced? I remember growing up, and you know how young people are so impressionable and stuff like that, before the stage where they know everything. We were going to a Baptist church in Saratoga, big town of Saratoga. And I remember going to the parsonage after a service, after a business meeting. And if you've ever been in a business meeting of a Southern Baptist church, they are brutal. They're not fun. Trust me. I do remember that as a child. But I do remember, and I believe Sis was there, and my brother and my mom and dad and some other friends were there also, grown-up friends. And I remember that they were voting out the current pastor. And I really didn't think that much of it. I liked the pastor, liked his wife, liked his family, and everything like that. But now as an adult, and I look back and I try to remember all the details of that, and I'm not very good at that because my memory is about this big, or this long. Now, I usually go to Sis or my brother to get the true detailed story. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Sis, so correct me if I'm wrong or misleading the people. But I do remember you had one side that was, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And then you had another side that they actually believed what they were doing was what God wanted them to do. So now you have two sides believing that they're doing what God has instructed them. And I remember, now as a minister and as a pastor, I'm thinking, what do you do when both sides think that they're doing the right thing? Well, obviously, Brother Robert, you need to go pray about it, and you need to go find scriptures and stuff like that. Okay, sounds great. I'm all for that. You do that, now you have what you think God is telling you how to handle it. You got their side, and now your side. They think God is leading them. They think God's leading them. And of course, I think God's leading me. All right? This is just some of the difficulties. So I'm looking back at that situation, how I would have handled it. I would have messed it up. I really would have. But put yourself in the same shoes. How would you have done it? Right? You have the deacon board that wants the pastor out. You have the pastor and his family and a lot of members of the church that wants him to stay. And then you got God somewhere in the midst of it. Now later on we find out that everything worked out fine. But at the moment, in the moment, you're not so sure. Right? And I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. I don't remember him. He remembers me. He wasn't part of my youth group, so but a lot of our youth group was friends with him and everything like that. And they were bringing up one of our fallen church members. Y'all remember Daniel? He had passed away. And I remember as the youth group came together and posted things on Messenger and Snapchat and Facebook or whatever the social media was during those days. But I remember a lot, and it was mainly the females of the youth group. They wanted to post how much he meant to them. And it always ended, "We will never forget you. We will always remember this," and everything like that. And I'm reminded that his anniversary has come and gone many times, but more so this year. And I don't remember any post. I don't remember those same ladies, same gentlemen that posted, "We will never forget you." Well, they didn't remember this year. And then I remember how fragile life is. And whenever I'm gone, whenever you're gone, what are people going to remember? Long term. Well, Brother Robert was nice and never did anything to no harm towards me or anything like that. He was just a nice guy. And then I started taking individuals out of this congregation thinking, what are people going to say about them? And then reality hits. That's going to happen one day. It's going to happen one day. Me and Sis, we often talk about this. We didn't expect what happened to Mom and Dad to happen to Mom and Dad. We honestly thought that they would outlive us. They didn't. And I know it was COVID time, and I know how many people, good, bad, indifference, it doesn't matter, how many lives they touched and how many friendships they developed through their life. And I'll be honest with you, during the funeral, again, it was during COVID and all that, and you had restrictions, but I was disappointed that the people that came, the number of people, and you know me, I'm not about numbers. I'd rather have quality than quantity. But I was disappointed that the amount of people that was able to come. And again, COVID and all that. But I was expecting hundreds of people, and then when you only have a handful, it was disappointing in that fact. And then the birth. You think of the new babies that come into this world and everything like that. So you have death on one hand, and you have life on the other, and how celebrated the birth of a baby is. And it should be. I remember doing a countdown before baby Elliot came that we would go over how many births today and how many opportunities we were going to have in the future. And now Elliot is one of those people that we look forward to for the future. And I knew we had communion today and everything like that. So it's been a complete roller coaster this week as far as what's been going through my spirit. And then you start taking inventory of your life, and we all should do this. If not on a daily basis, certainly on a weekly basis. Whether you teach Sunday school or whether you just come and support your local church, take inventory of your life. And what I mean by that is, what do you have in your life? If your life ended today, what would you have to pass on to someone else? What substance? Not money, not a car, not a house, but what do you have to pass on to the next generation? So I did. And I realized I don't have much. I love God, but how do you pass that on? I love my family, but how do you pass that on? I love my job at times, but how do you pass that on? And then I remember, well, what did Jesus do? All right? Certainly what happened to him was not something you lived for your whole life, and it to end the way it did in such a massive, uncomfortable story. I know he rose and he defeated and all that, but you got to understand, at some point Jesus realized, before the roses come, the thorns come. Exactly. I mean, it was not something that you look forward to, especially 3.5 years into a very successful ministry. So when you're looking at your life and you're taking inventory, just think about all the suffering that you've had to go through, the depressions, the death, the bringing in life, witnessing life being taken out of this world. And just honestly, be honest with yourself and say, what am I going to live? What am I going to leave for the next? It wasn't easy. None of our lives are. And as a minister, I have a very unique perspective because a lot of people, I say a lot of people, people come to me and they just tell you their problems. All right? But also you get a lot of, hey, you know what God's done for me this week and how blessed I am and everything like that. But it never fails, even for a minister, it seems like the negatives stick out more than the positive. Because you can relate, for one thing, all right? And in that part of your ministry, relating to someone, you always want to give your opinion and how God delivered you out of it and parted the Red Sea in your life. But their life's different. Your mold may not fit their mold. So there's a point where you have to listen. And there's some times where I just have to, I hear your sister, I hear your brother, and just keep my mouth shut. Because if I want to interject what went on in my life and how God worked it out in my life, then they may also think that's exactly how God's going to work it out in my life. And then God does something totally different. All right? Then you have some explaining to do, Lucy. Not only with your God, but with that person too. So there's many a times where people's come to me asking for advice. I know too that I'm looking at right now, not eye to eye, but that's come to me and they can tell you, you know what? I was expecting the pastor to answer me a certain way. He didn't say nothing. They may have thought that I didn't know. And maybe I didn't. Or maybe I just didn't have the wisdom for that situation. And maybe I didn't. But you got to remember, Satan is out to destroy, out to kill, and certainly, when you look at those three phrases, to kill, steal, and destroy, steal is the least of all of it. You think of kill, oh God, that's bad. Or destroy, oh man, that's not as bad as killing, but it's pretty close. But to steal, that's a misdemeanor. But all of it's bad. When Satan comes to kill your loved one, kill your relationships, or to steal your relationships, steal your family members, destroy your family members, destroy the love that you have, the bond, the trust. That's another thing. So when you look at those three phrases, please look at all of them equally bad. But in the same term, God loves you. So whenever life has got you on a ride, roller coaster and everything like that, do y'all ever watch those videos on YouTube or TikTok or whatever? My granddaughter loves it. Whenever they're in a slingshot, is that what it's called? I mean, they got a handlebar and they're holding on to it and everything like that. And then, they start screaming and they start fainting and throwing up and everything like that. I just think, some of them love it, some of them hate it, some of them don't know what they're going on and everything like that. And I think of you as a congregation, that must be what y'all are going through. You presented God the ticket. He's accepted it. So He puts you in the seat. And for your protection, He puts these safety features on. So now you're strapped in to this seat called Christianity, called ministry, called going to church, being chosen. And you don't know what to expect. And then all of a sudden, you go from 0 to 60 in a matter of 2 seconds. And at some point before you reach the very top of the sling, before you're shot, well, I guess the shot first, Whatever, however you want to term it. Before you reach the very climax of the ride, you realize, ooh, I don't know if I like this. And then comes the sudden stop. All right? Where your body is thrust and you feel the pressure of life on you. You feel the pressure of this ride on you. Are you going to throw up? Are you going to faint? Are you going to enjoy it? Are you going to hate it? They're so vast in the different feelings that might come. Brother Bill, whether you like it or not, it's kind of like being married. All right? You just never know what to expect. But anyways, so you're up there and now it starts slinging and shooting you and everything like that. You're going back and forth. So you can see the women's hair, and I say the women's hair because it's easier to see your hair going back and forth and everything like that. And whenever they step off that ride, their hair is messed up. You hope that their clothes is still on. They're white. Some of them's pink. You never know what to expect from that. But they have been on a ride. And I've seen all of you look that way. And you've seen me look that way. So if you ever get a chance, go on TikTok, YouTube, whatever, and just watch a couple of those videos. And just think of, is this my Christian life? I mean, is this the ministry that I'm in? All right? And see if you can relate with that particular ride that they just went on. Because you have death. You have celebration. you have people gathered together and everything like that. And God is working through all of that for His benefit. But with that being said, so many times whenever we read in the Bible that, I mean, when you really look at Jesus' story, all right, the crucifixion, everything like that, He wins in the end. All right? And I'm glad He does. But man, was that trip rough for Him. Being betrayed by your own people. Being betrayed by the people that you done no wrong to. But yet you're about to sacrifice your life for those people. And then I kind of sit back and I think, God, I have such a rough time in the ministry. I mean, people are always coming up here with problems, and I get more problems than I get praise reports. Poor Sister Deborah, when she asked for a praise report and she got nothing this morning, come on, people, there should have been something that you wanted to praise about. You took another breath. You were able to get in your vehicle and come to church today. All right? There should have been something. There should never be a time, all right, in any church on God's green earth that someone shouldn't have a praise report. Will it be one that will just floor everybody and make them remember? No. But it should be something. I was tempted last night, but God delivered me from it. I mean, isn't that a praise report? I was really tempted, but didn't give in. I was really tempted to stay home and watch cartoons this morning. I watched the Dallas Cowboys play football. But I came on in. Now, some people wouldn't consider that a praise report. I do. So, Sister Deborah, I'm kind of fighting for you here. Because that's kind of awkward, because you've always had at least one praise report. But this morning, you were fighting for that one. Let's not put her in that situation again. Let's not put God in that situation. All right? And I know I've always got one in my back pocket. Not the praise report, but the prayer request. That is one that should probably take more time than me preaching. Because all of us need prayer. Have you ever been put in a situation where you think it's going to go one way and it goes totally opposite? And then when it goes opposite, you're thinking, no, this is not good. I don't want no part of this. But you're too late. You're in it. You're strapped in. All right? You're strapped in. You're going for the ride no matter what. But as the ride continues, you find out, you know what? This is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So yesterday I did a wedding in Galveston. And how hot do you think it is in Galveston right now? Brother Bill, you probably know better than anyone. It's pretty hot. It's not the 100 degrees and it's not the 98 degrees, but it's hot. So this wedding has been planned for over a year and a half. I knew that I was going to officiate it for over a year. I was just reminded a month ago. But nevertheless, they sent me the picture of where I needed to go and everything like that, and when the rehearsal was going to be and everything like that. So we go, and I go on the internet and I look at the venue that it's going to be, and it is gorgeous. It's a glass ceiling. It's just beautiful. It's got vines growing. It's just a pretty venue. All right? So I'm thinking, man, this is going to be one of the nicest venues that I've been in to perform a marriage. We go through the rehearsal, which is at a bed and breakfast, basically a hotel, but it was a bed and breakfast place. It looked like a miniature hotel. But anyways, we have the rehearsal out on the front lawn, all right, because they told us that they forgot to book the rehearsal dinner at the venue. No problem. We'll just do it outside. It's at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's cool. Galveston's got a great breeze, everything like that. So we go through the walkthrough 2 or 3 times, you know, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that, da-da-da-da. All right, so we get through that, so the wedding comes. I arrive, and I notice that all the bridesmaids, including the bride, are outside. And I'm thinking they're just taking a picture. No problem. So I go inside, and they start miking me up for the service and everything like that. And I said, man, I'm sure glad that this is going to be an inside wedding. And then I go outside to check on it, and I notice where they were taking pictures and stuff, that there was a lot of white chairs. At that point, I said, not a cuss word, but I said, oh God, it's going to be outside. I've got a suit on, okay? But you women, or them women, and those groomsmen and everything like that, they're pouring down sweat. The wedding's going to be outside, people, at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Galveston. Not what I was expecting and everything like that. So I'm up there officiating, reading my scriptures, getting them ready and everything like that. And sweat, and I'm not a guy that gets hot too easily, but sweat is pouring down that I can't even read what I've got to read and everything like that. And the poor bride, I mean, she's sweating. She's got makeup on. She's already been through this, even though it's in the shade. All right. She's been at it for a couple of hours. So is the groom. So everybody's sweating, and everybody in the audience, like you, are sitting, and y'all have got a nice little breeze, and it's really comfortable for you. And it's very pretty for y'all, because it's a beautiful backdrop. It's just a beautiful wedding, except for the heat. And I'm thinking, you know what? So many times we go into God's situation, all right, and we're thinking that it's going to be air conditioned. You're going to have this big venue, and you're just going to have this great showcase, and there's flowers and vines, and everything's going to be great. Only to find out that, you know what? God's got some work for you to do. And it's going to cost a little sweat, and it's going to be uncomfortable. All right? But then you realize, you know what? Still have to do it. These people still have to get married. God's will, God's work must still be done. And I think about that whenever Tim walked into my office this morning. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking this is going to be an air-conditioned venue. And it's not. It's outside in the heat. God has a sense of humor, like Sis said. But my God, sometimes I wish He didn't. Would have loved to have had it in the air condition. And the bad thing about it is I never even got to the air conditioner part except for 2 minutes to sign the marriage license. Because then I left. But you spent all this money. Everything looks so beautiful. And it's not what you thought it was going to be. I know you may have a hard time understanding that. But so many times with my walk with God, and certainly with your walk with God, it's not what you thought it was. This church is not what I thought it was. Now, we're always talking about let's remember the community, let's bless the community and stuff like that. But the community is outside in the heat, in the sun, in the fact that people need money, in the fact that people need their electricity, the fact that people need food. All of that is uncomfortable. All of that is not what I feel and what I see in these four walls whenever we have lights and we have an air conditioner or we have a heater, we have refreshments, we have bathrooms and everything like that. But there are literally people out there that are sleeping without any electricity. All right? Mosquitoes biting them, bugs crawling on them, going to bed hungry, waking up hungry, going through half the day hungry, thirsty, wanting to take a shower, wanting to brush their teeth, but they have no means to. And I want to worry about doing a wedding in the heat, making me feel uncomfortable for 30 minutes. I'm short-winded on a wedding, 15 minutes. Ask Sarah. Let me tell you, people, God still expects you to do it. You like it? You don't like it? God still expects you to do it. Y'all stand real quick. So, if you come next week, you will see that I did have a sermon ready and everything like that. But I felt it more important today to let you realize that your life is full of ups and downs. You may have an air conditioner today. Power may be off tomorrow. You may have a heater today and the fire went out tomorrow. You may have an icebox full of meat and food. Tomorrow it could be empty. But I look around and I see people, it's only temporary for us. We all struggle. We all have a bill now and then that's hard to pay. We all have a mortgage that sometimes, takes all your money. All right? You may be running short on gas money. Instead of having a steak this week, we may have had to have a hamburger. All right? But there are people out there that struggle with this every day. And then we're trying to tell them that there's a loving God. There's a God that loves you and wants to do everything. It's a hard pill to swallow. Don't take your calling for granted. Don't take